AM 560. The Answer.
The reason Dick Cheney should have loved Donald Trump, more than half of the country called him Darth Vader for 20 fracking years. When he came out against Donald Trump, now the same scum that accused him of everything I just accused him of and proved that he did. Everything from the CEO of Halliburton to the absolute gangster government under George Bush to the questions of September 11th. Now they love him. All you got to do is hate Trump and they'll love you. Just ask the porn star, John Bolton. It's absolutely fantastic to watch without any of the reasoning of understanding who the Cheneys are and how much devastation to our economy, to the principles of our country, they were not just involved with, they orchestrated.
I will just end this by saying, and I also know, because I have spent time with Vice President Harris, because I have come to understand what she believes about how she will govern, that she will be a president for all Americans.
It's fantastic. These frickin' Republicans will say anything. And you know what's funny? I was talking to the boss before the show started. And when I point out and drag out these cockroaches from under the rocks, and I prove beyond the shadow of a doubt the corruption in the tax increases and the backdoor handouts to their friends and their family, like Ike Welsh, also known as Chris Welsh. Ike Turner put some stank on it. Likes to slap the women when he gave the $40 million to Proviso West. We drag him out. What the hell you doing? I could buy the whole frickin' town for 20. And he shows up on WGN with his $7,000 suits and the brother rapper. Yeah, sure he was. And all the scandal around these gangsters. And the minute I mentioned the inside scum Republicans, guess who lobbies the show and calls the show? Guess who? It's not the Democrats, because we could prove 8 ways to Tuesday. You're just part of the Daily Mafia. You're just dumber and a little softer. It's the Republicans. The same Republicans who wanted to protect Dick Cheney, who wanted to protect George Bush, who wanted to destroy the principles of your privacy, your property rights, who wanted to destroy the economy so they could forever control the citizens through debt. These are all the same. That's why Dick Cheney, we owe him a debt of gratitude. Undeniable founding father of absolute, they call it the deep state, but absolute gangster government. Frank Gooch, Rogers Park.
Hey, Sean, you hit it on the head. This gangster angry got that crazy mass murderer look when he was taking a question from Rockefeller at the CFR. I never seen him smile like a child.
Well, he was nobody to be trifled with. He was nobody to be trifled with. Dick Cheney was something in his day. And, listen, dirt poor. Dirt poor, if you know about Dick Cheney. He orchestrated. He clawed his way up. He's a gangster. And he did it through the right channels to never, ever get caught and to become an oligarch and pay very, very, very little taxes. And he did it and taught them, which is why he worked hand in glove with the Bidens, with the Pelosi's. These weren't opponents of ideology. These are the ones they would argue on television and they would go buy dinner with each other at night. I mean, he's the OG of absolute gangster government officials. I only wish he would have saw 30 years. Because he was living high for a while. He sold that dog daughter of his as a Tea Party member, right? And think about how confident he was. He knew what the scam was. She was the safety net for the corruption and the spending. I'd love to see a forensic audit of Dick Cheney's net worth, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Frank, do me a favor. Google Dick Cheney's house in Wyoming. Take a look at that palazzo. Thank you very much. He's just a humble congressman, vice president. That's all he was. Yeah. And if he wasn't who he was, and you think you'd know his daughter's name? You think anybody would know this dingbat's name? Not unless they made plane trains and automobiles and they needed some woman to drive Steve Martin's character around again.
We will be voting on whether to preserve our republic in the next election. You think this is a vote about whether or not we still have democracy in this country?
It certainly is, and Donald Trump has told us exactly what he will do. He will not abide by the rulings of the courts. He will certainly appoint people to office, whether or not they can be confirmed by the Senate. He has talked about using the military in terms that really are fundamentally un-American.
Didn't she run as a congresswoman, she was going to rip Obamacare out and cut the government spending, blah, 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 blah. At least your father really sold it, honey. Saddest one to see her go back home was the husband, no doubt about it. Jerry, Western Burbs.
Hey, Sean, opening up there, I got a friend of mine. His name is Frank.
Yeah.
And his personality, the guy's fairly frank as far as conversation. And then I look at government, and we got Dick Cheney, Dick Blumenthal, Dick Durbin. And I'm wondering if there's any corollary here.
I think you're on to something.
It's a metaphor.
I think you're on. We owe it all to Dick. Me, you, Kamala Harris. Thank you very much. Tomas, Blue Island.
Hey, Sean Dittos.
Thank you.
So, Sean, if anyone out there wants to know what the difference between an establishment Republican is in the political sphere or the media as compared to yourself, and I know you're not big on saying I'm a MAGA guy and stuff, but you are.
Yeah.
All you had to do is listen to the radio all day today, like I do at work. You would have thought Dick Cheney was up for canonization. All Hugh Hewitt could get himself to say was that he had a disagreement with Donald Trump. Well, that quote you just played, that clip, him calling him the biggest danger to democracy in a couple hundred years.
You didn't hear that all day today?
Yeah.
Did you hear that all day? I mean, you did, right?
All day.
Yeah.
The guy that's going to be at Freedom Summits, Scott Jennings or whatever his name is, Brian Jennings, whatever, who cares? Couldn't do anything. Couldn't even lay down an objective argument of what this guy has said about the guy that I think is the second best president in the history of our country behind George Washington. Did nothing but kiss his tail all day.
No, well, this is the thing you have to understand, right? Contempt for change is what profiteers of fraud are really fighting, right? They don't want change. I don't know why. If you're sick and tired, if nobody can put together that $30 trillion has been added to the debt in 15 years, and if you look at George Bush and the erosion of your property rights, if you look at the lies of the Middle East, the ridiculousness of Saddam Hussein, rather than the actual relationship that we had, and hey, I'm not an apologist for the Saddam Hussein or any of it, but one thing's for certain. Since the 60s, Saddam Hussein was the CIA's guy, and everybody with an IQ who could read knew it. And George Bush's father, he was Nixon's CIA guy. He was supposed to have a 30-minute brief with Jimmy Carter. He went to the house. This is well documented. 4.5 hours with Jimmy Carter. When he gets out, Jimmy Carter appoints him head of the CIA. And you can't figure out the timeline between all of this and today and why Dick Cheney. George Bush was a moron. Everybody knew it. Dick Cheney was the one that really orchestrated so much of the policies, which is why he was loathed among Democrats except for today. Today he's cherished, and why not? He taught them all how to play ball. And no one talks of the contract to build homes in Iraq by the Biden family. That's just one. What about the dizzy bimbo, Nancy Pelosi? Nobody can figure out the ins and outs between Nancy Pelosi and Dick Cheney or Harry Reid. And I mean, come on. This is the most obvious time to realize how corrupted the government has become. After all, 537 people make all the economic decisions for the entire country. And they all do it simultaneously. Notice during the shutdown, not one Democrat says, well, maybe I should consider not stepping and fetching to Schumer. They step and they fetch. That's why we fight the illusion here. George, Naperville.
Yes, Sean. Thank you for educating us about Cheney and exposing us to what he was. But in that vice presidential debate with Lieberman, he wiped the floor with him. And I remember Lieberman said something about when he was in the private sector, and Cheney came back and said, we'd like to put you back there, Joe.
Well, I don't know how. Yeah, he did. You're right. But you know, the thing about Dick Cheney.
He was so professional.
Halliburton for 5 years as the CEO. The frack did he know? He was a lineman for the electric company. Then he became a congressman. He's one of the founding fathers for that revolving door to the military-industrial complex and the crooked contracts. I mean, at least Nancy Pelosi has the audacity to pretend to trade. 312-642-5600.
I am your father. believes in freedom, capitalism, and individual liberty. And because of that,
he's become an enemy of the state.
He's Sean Thompson, and this is The Sean Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.